The prehistoric Stone Age played a pivotal role in human history, lasting from ancient times to the present, and is considered the longest period in our development, although it may sound strange and unimportant. This prehistoric period actually shaped our modern culture and society. From this humble period, everything in our society can be directly traced. However, understanding this period is not a simple task, and together, we will explore it through more than 3 million years of evolution. The Stone Age is of course named after the main material that we humans have exploited to the fullest: stone, an amazing material. Since ancient times, our ancestors have been using it for millions of years in one way or another. When we talk about stoneware tool use, we are really talking about using proper stone tools, crafted to produce sharp cutting edges. Although rough stone is commonly used by animals, only our species and our close relatives know how to make and use adapted stone tools. The oldest evidence of the existence of such tools dates to about 3.3 million years ago, discovered in northern Kenya, where about 150 artifacts were found. Pieces of stone were cut into sharp blades and hammered to create tools, which, although it may not be very impressive, is exactly what we would expect to find from this period. Simple, sharp tools for handling animals still exist and may have been used to create wooden tools such as spears. It's worth noting that these tools may not even have been made by our own hominids, but could have been made by Australopithecus or Kenyans. It is possible that the creators of these tools were our ancestors, although this is only an assumption and there is no concrete evidence. The use of stone tools remained uncommon for hundreds of thousands of years, but other methods of simplifying traditional toolmaking were developed independently about 2.9 million years ago. Many years ago, these tools were created by separating many pieces of stone from the stone to create sharp cuts. These tools spread throughout East Africa, starting about 2.4 million years ago, becoming one of the first widespread stone technologies. Early members of our genus Homo habilis were among the first hominins to use them. Homo habilis was short in stature with some ape-like features, but it used tools on 2 legs and appears to have been ancestral to other hominins. They spread throughout East and Southern Africa before the emergence of a new species of hominin, known to be one of the most important hominins of all time. The earliest examples of these hominins appeared in East Africa about 2 million years ago. Populations of this species migrate very quickly, spreading throughout Africa and even as far as China. These humans, with height and body size ratios similar to ours, were capable of running and hunting just like us, with efficient symmetrical throwing and brains much larger than any other human species that has ever existed. They initially used classic wand-style tools before evolving into the Australian tool industry. About 1.8 million years ago, they developed the delicate hands and axes of symmetry used to process meat and vegetable ingredients as well as shaping materials such as wood. The technology was so effective that it spread from Africa to England and as far east as northern China. Within this range, Homo erectus appears to have dominated their habitat. The habitat often contains the remains of animals such as giant elephants, hippos, and pavines, and they are also good at gathering fruits, vegetables, nuts, turtles, and even catfish. Some of these dishes are cooked over an open fire to make them easier to digest. Homo erectus is one of the first hominins that we know for sure used hunting tools, with evidence dating back more than 1 million years ago. Overall, Homo erectus paved the way for all future hominin species, and we probably wouldn't exist without them. Populations of erect trees living around the world for hundreds of thousands of years of isolation would have given rise to a new species, forming about 700,000 years ago. Homosexual ancestors appeared in Europe, although were soon replaced by new children in the homosexual Heidelbergensis block. These hominins represent many of the population groups living around the world's ancient towns at this time. They had brains similar in size to modern humans and had more modern features overall. Overall, they created more complex tools, including spearheads and surprisingly more refined hand axes. We even have some wooden spears made from this time. They demonstrate careful craftsmanship, and some are even shaped like modern javelin points. These widespread populations, collectively known as Hodo or Burgesses, were quite distinct from the start and, over the years, would have grown even more distinct. About 300,000 years ago, these differences were enough to classify these populations into new species, one of which is our own. Africa is where our species first appeared more than 300,000 years ago. A strange species, also known as astrologers, is living with us in South Africa at this time. In Europe and much of the West, Neanderthals appeared about 300,000 years ago, as well as in East and Southeast Asia, where Denisovans lived, as well as possibly many other species. This time is truly a time of great human diversity on our planet. Neanderthals and Homo sapiens were created using new technology called Mosterians, using deadly balls and many other complex stone tools. Hominid people in Asia were colonizing new lands and creating their own complex technology. About 100,000 years ago, we witnessed the first appearance of art and symbolism at Plumbo Cave. The amazing rock point was created with carved rocks and red ochre paintings in the Congo. Intricate bone points have been created, and our earliest evidence of burials has appeared in Kenya. Neanderthals in Europe made extensive use of iron-rich red ochre, and some sites preserved skeletal remains and even symbolically manipulated the dead. In a cave in France, Neanderthals brought hundreds of stone steles to create a strange and iconic structure. Clearly, around this time, Neanderthals seemed to be on par with their complexity and ours. During that time, people began to migrate out of Africa. Homo sapiens have always lived in the Middle East, to some extent, but during this time we have rapidly expanded. Moving south first, our population moved into the Indian subcontinent about 70,000 years ago and into Australia about 65,000 years ago. We expanded into Europe more slowly, perhaps because of climatic challenges and the fact that Neanderthals lived there before. By about 45,000 years ago, we humans lived in much of southern Europe, and finally by about 40,000 years ago, we had more or less completely replaced Neanderthals. The same process occurred throughout Asia, even though we replaced many different human species. We have interbred with at least the Denisovans, Neanderthals, and no known population or species of humans in modern times that have even a small percentage of common ancient genes in their DNA, but so far, we are still very far away. Homo sapiens originated in Africa. These modern humans expanded throughout their range, reaching population sizes much higher than in any previous era, and our species was the first to reach the Americas with at least 16,000 people. Many years ago, but probably more than 22,000 years ago. We also have a few companions with friends during this time. The population largely maintained a few sedentary groups, while some groups were sedentary for part of the year, and some Natufian cultures began to create permanent stone structures and used sturdy grains. The emergence of younger rather than drier conditions at the end of the last ice age appears to have led to a reliance on wild cereals, village formation, and eventually agriculture spread throughout West Asia, North Africa, and then to Europe. Rice cultivation began in China about 10,000 years ago, and tomatoes, beans, chili peppers, and eventually corn were all domesticated in the Americas. Agriculture revolutionized the way people lived, leading to less physical activity and the emergence of specialized occupations. In it, new societies are established. Stone remained one of the main materials used to make tools during that period, although natural copper deposits were used in many places. Especially in the Great Lakes region of the Americas, smelting copper from ore was the first step in metallurgy, with copper appearing about 7,500 years ago in Southern Europe. Different cultures learned to smelt copper from neighboring cultures and other sources. Independently, finally, tin was also melted with copper to create harder bronze, which was an effective substitute for most stone tools. The widespread use of copper have ended the Stone Age for 26,000 years ago. Stone tools continue to be used in many fields and for a variety of jobs, even in areas where metal was available. Stone daggers continued to be made in Scandinavia long after the advent of metal, and some even copied bronze knife designs. Obsidian is still used in some medical practices because it is sharper than any metal edge and can cut precisely, a feature that metal edges cannot match. The use of stone tools continues today, and I use them regularly in everyday life. If you like this video, don't forget to like and follow our evolution content. Subscribe to the channel and press the notification bell so you don't miss the next videos. Goodbye and see you again.